Welcome back to The Dig, a series dedicated to helping you improve profitability on your farm.
I'm Collin, and this is Aaron. On today's episode, we'll be digging up solutions to your questions on decisions you might be making on your farms early in the season.
Two-year multi-location data shows that replanting corn after frost damage may not be the wisest move, believe it or not.
We simulated frost damage into PFR plots by torching corn plants at V2 to V4 growth stages. Additionally, we simulated a killing frost by mowing over the V4 frost-damaged corn and leaving the growing point.
Interestingly, the V4 growth stage in corn appeared to be more robust and better able to handle a frost event than corn at the V2 growth stage. After replanting both frost treatments, neither of the replant treatments for the V2 or V4 frost-damaged corn showed yield increases.
Now, we're not saying you shouldn't go out there and replant your frost-damaged corn, but if you find yourself in that situation, reach out to your Beck's representative.
Speaking of replanting, we've got some studies on those sorts of decisions too.
The Plant 2022 season will be the third year for most of our in-season decision-making studies.
And after 3 years worth of positive yield gains, some of these actions could make the PFR proven list.
Regarding replant decisions, we have information on replant thresholds for both corn and soybeans. But before we dive into the data, let's first focus on the main things to consider when assessing a replant decision.
For corn replant, we have 5 factors to consider when determining to replant or not to replant. The first one being, what was the target pop and what's our current plant stand? Secondly, what's the original planting date and when's that potential replant date? Could be a week, could be 2 weeks, could be 3, we never know.
Number 3, how uniform is the plant stand and what was the cause of the stand loss? Number 4, how healthy is the stand? And number 5, what hybrid did we plant?
Once we've evaluated those questions, we can get to the bottom of deciding whether or not we should replant that corn.
Our 2-year data on corn shows that based off average commodity prices from 2020 to 2021, it did pay to replant stands of 20,000 or less. However, it did not pay to replant stands of 24,000 or more.
When it comes to evaluating replanting soybeans, there are 4 factors to consider. First one, what was the original planting date and what is the potential replant date? So just like corn, we don't always know when that is, but try and make the best decision we can. Number 2, what is the current stand out there?
Also, how uniform is the stand? Should you tear it up or should you fill it in? Once these questions have been answered, reach out to your local Beck's representative to help make those replant decisions.
Speaking of getting a hold of a Beck's representative, let's call up Nate Firle, the Regional Agronomy Manager up in Minnesota, and pick his brain on some real life experiences that maybe he's had with frost on corn over the years.
What's up, Nate? How are you, man?
What's up?
Hey, doing good, guys. How are you?
Nate, not too bad. How's the weather up in Minnesota?
Beautiful. Always beautiful in Minnesota.
Well, hey, we're talking a little bit about frost. How does the farmers up in Minnesota kind of deal with frost on corn in the early spring?
Yeah, frost is one of those things that, it's not something that hits every year, but when it does, it raises just a lot of questions. And I think it's because we just don't deal with it that often. But it's one of those most visual, stimulating challenges that we see, and it creates us to just kind of jump to some conclusions of, I think that crop is gone and I got to do something about it.
With frost being a real life condition, how does PFR simulate that frost?
Well, that's a great question, and that's one of the really neat things about PFR and these in-season decision-making studies, frost being one of them, is we're figured out a way that we can replicate that frost by actually using heat, the opposite of that cold, to rupture that cell wall in the same manner that a killing freeze would take place on corn. So 28 degrees sustained for 2 to 3 hours, completely killing that vegetation that's exposed. And so what that allows us to do then is to see, one, what is that yield impact from that frost, which we know, as most farmers that have experienced it, we know we're going to lose some yield. But then, more importantly, what do we do? And that's where we've really learned to be patient. We have to be patient. We have to wait 3 to 5 days and then go out there and properly evaluate, did that freezing or did that tissue freeze down to the growing point? If that growing point's intact, we've learned through 2 years of doing this study that just leave it. It's not going to look good for a few days, but leaving it, letting that growing point push through is better than ripping that up and replanting. So the way we've designed the study in PFR really helps provide a data set that's facts, that helps make this decision that doesn't exist right now on the marketplace.
Well, hey, Nate, we appreciate the time on talking a little bit about frost.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
See you, Nate. He's a good dude.
Just like on corn, we have 2 years of multi-location data for replant information on soybeans for 15-inch and 30-inch row spacings.
To simulate sporadic soybean stands, we plugged holes on an 80-cell plate. 2-year data shows with 30-inch rows, a stand of 72,000 or more was profitable, but stands less than 56,000 warranted replanting.
When we look at 15-inch row soybeans, a stand of 75,000 was still profitable, but it paid to replant that stand of 60,000 or less. We understand replanting is an emotional call to make on your operations, and keeping stands that look thin can definitely be tough, but sometimes it's actually better to just walk away for maybe a week, maybe 2, and they'll look a lot better.
That's why we recommend reviewing the questions we discussed earlier to make an informed replant decision for your corn and soybean field.
When deciding to replant a soybean field, PFR also has looked at spotting in soybean plants as well.
2-year data shows that most profitable spotting in populations was 100,000 seeds per acre, added to a thin stand of soybeans.
Leaving stands of around 70,000 plants per acre was more profitable than ripping that field up and replanting to a stand of 150,000 seeds per acre.
Spotting in stands of 60 all the way up to 80,000 plants per acre also shows increases. This data trends towards spotting in being profitable and replanting being not profitable.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. And again, if you're stuck in one of those emotional decisions about, replant or a frost situation, don't hesitate to reach out to a Beck's representative. They're here to help you and really walk you through those decisions. Also, make sure to like, hit that subscribe button, and even comment below if maybe you've had experience with frost or replant in your own situation, and let us know how you handled it. So with that being said, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on another episode of The Dig. Deuces. Later.
Peace out.
Later, dude.
Deuces. Should a grower reduce the nitrogen rate on lower stands there?
I feel like you should.
That was going into a question?
Yeah.
I was gonna say that.
He's a good dude.
You don't have to say that. He's still on there.
I don't want it to be on the video.
Oh.
Are we done? Good?